Chapter 2: The Warrior Prince. The sun was high in the sky when the emissaries arrived. Their banners, a deep crimson with the golden lion of the Maza kingdom, fluttered in the warm breeze as they made their way through the gates of Oya. Zuri watched from the balcony of the palace, her hands resting on the stone railing, her eyes narrowed in contemplation. The Maza kingdom had long been a powerful force to the west of Age. Their warriors were feared across the continent, and their expansionist ambitions had always been a concern for Zuri's father. Oba Adiwale had maintained a fragile peace with the Maza through careful diplomacy and strategic trade agreements. But Zuri knew that peace could only last for so long, especially now that the Age Kingdom was seen as vulnerable with a new, young queen on the throne. Today, Prince Kamari, the eldest son of the Maza king, was arriving with his retinue. His purpose, to offer an alliance through marriage. The idea had been brought to Zuri's attention by her council shortly after her coronation. The council believed that a union between Zuri and Kamari would secure the borders of Age and prevent any further encroachment from the Maza. But Zuri had other thoughts. Marriage, to her, was not just a bond between two people. It was a political weapon, one that could either strengthen or weaken her rule. She had no interest in surrendering her power, even to a man as formidable as Kamari. She had heard stories of the warrior prince, how he had led his father's armies to victory in countless battles, how he was as feared for his cunning as he was for his strength. Zuri knew that accepting this proposal would send a message to her kingdom, that she needed a man by her side to secure her power. And that was something she could not allow. They're nearing the palace, Your Majesty, Aoife's voice broke through Zuri's thoughts. Zuri straightened, nodding to Aoife before turning to make her way down to the throne room. Let's see what the prince has to offer. As she entered the grand hall, Zuri's mind was already calculating. The warrior prince would no doubt try to assert his dominance, to make her feel small in comparison to his strength. But Zuri was determined to show him, and everyone else, that she was not to be underestimated. The doors of the throne room swung open, and Prince Kamari entered. He was tall, his skin a rich, deep brown that gleamed under the sunlight filtering through the high windows. His broad shoulders and muscular frame were encased in fine armor, adorned with the gold and red of his kingdom. His presence commanded attention, and even the seasoned warriors of Zuri's court shifted uneasily as he passed. But Zuri remained still on her throne, her gaze cool and unreadable. Kamari stopped before her, his dark eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made the air between them feel charged. For a moment, neither of them spoke, both silently assessing the other. Oba Zuri, Kamari finally said, his voice deep and smooth. It is an honor to stand before you. Your reputation as a ruler of great strength precedes you. Zuri raised an eyebrow, her lips curving slightly. And yours as a warrior of great ambition precedes you, Prince Kamari. A flicker of amusement crossed his face, though his eyes remained hard. Ambition is the fuel of kings. As it is of queens, I assume. Only when it serves the kingdom, Zuri replied. I assume your ambition serves the Maza kingdom well? Kamari's smile grew, but it did not reach his eyes. As well as your strength serves Age, I'm sure. The tension in the room was palpable. Zuri could sense the unease among her council. They were eager for this alliance, seeing it as a way to protect the kingdom from external threats. But Zuri had to play this carefully. Kamari was not a man to be easily swayed, nor one to be taken lightly. We both know why you've come, Zuri said, leaning back slightly on her throne. You offer peace through marriage, do you not? Kamari nodded. It is a wise course of action, Your Majesty. Our kingdoms are neighbors, and we share common enemies. Together, we could form a formidable alliance. My father is willing to offer generous trade agreements, military support, and protection for your borders. And in return? Zuri asked, her voice steady. Kamari's eyes glinted with something akin to challenge. In return, we will share rule over our lands. I will bring my armies and my strength to your kingdom, and you will bring your wisdom and lineage. Together, we will secure peace. Zuri's fingers tightened slightly on the armrests of her throne. Share rule. The words were spoken smoothly, but Zuri understood the implications. Kamari would expect her to submit to him, to allow him to influence her decisions, to lead as an equal, if not a superior. I am not in the habit of sharing my power, Zuri said coolly. Age has had one ruler for centuries, and that tradition will not change under my reign. Kamari's expression did not falter, but there was a flicker of frustration behind his calm demeanor. You misunderstand me, Oba Zuri. This is not about taking your power. It is about ensuring the strength of both our kingdoms. A single ruler, no matter how strong, cannot hold back the tide of enemies that surround us. Together, we will be unstoppable. Zuri stood from her throne, her golden robes shimmering as she moved closer to Kamari. Her gaze never left his as she spoke. And what makes you think I cannot hold my kingdom on my own? Kamari stepped forward, closing the distance between them. He towered over her, but Zuri did not waver. I have seen many kingdoms fall, Your Majesty. And I have seen what happens when rulers, no matter how strong, try to stand alone. You may be a queen, but even queens need allies. Zuri's pulse quickened, though she did not show it. His words were not without truth. Age was surrounded by rival kingdoms, and she knew that enemies were watching her every move, waiting for her to falter. But she would not be cowed. Not by him. Perhaps, Zuri said, her voice soft but edged with steel, but I will not be one of those rulers who falls because she has relied on the strength of a man. Kamari's eyes darkened, and for a moment, it seemed as though the air between them might crackle with the unspoken tension. He was not used to being challenged, and Zuri could see that in his gaze. He was used to women yielding to his power, to men fearing his might. But Zuri was neither of those things. She was a queen, and she would not yield to anyone. The silence stretched between them, thick with tension, until finally Kamari inclined his head slightly. Very well, he said, his voice low. I respect your resolve, Oba Zuri. But consider my offer carefully. The future of both our kingdoms may depend on it. With that, Kamari turned and made his way out of the hall, his retinue following behind him. Zuri watched him leave, her heart still pounding in her chest, though she kept her expression calm. As soon as the doors closed behind him, the murmurs among her council began. Your Majesty, one of the councilmen, a man named Alyamide, spoke up. Surely you will not reject the prince's offer? This alliance could ensure the safety of Age for generations. Zuri turned to face her council, her expression unreadable. I will consider his offer. But know this, no alliance, no matter how tempting, will ever come at the cost of Age's sovereignty. I will not become a puppet to another kingdom. Ife stepped forward, her brow furrowed. Zuri, the Maza kingdom is powerful. Kamari is not a man to take lightly. We need their strength. Zuri sighed, her gaze softening as she looked at Ife. I know, Ife. But I also know that if I give Kamari an inch, he will take a mile. This is not just about an alliance, it is about control. He may come with promises of peace, but he also comes with ambitions of power. Ife nodded, though worry still clouded her features. Just be careful, Zuri. Kamari is dangerous. And we cannot afford to make enemies right now. Zuri glanced back toward the doors where Kamari had left, her mind racing with possibilities. She knew Ife was right, Kamari was dangerous. But she was not afraid of danger. She had faced it all her life, and she had survived. As she returned to her chambers that evening, Zuri could not shake the feeling that the prince's arrival had set something in motion, something that would change the course of her reign. She was determined to maintain her power, but she knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, both from within her kingdom and beyond its borders. And as much as she hated to admit it, Prince Kamari would be one of those challenges. One she could not easily dismiss. But Zuri was ready. She had to be. The weight of the crown rested heavy on her brow, but her resolve was as strong as ever. She would face Kamari, and anyone else.